Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here. I'm doing this video because last week it was announced that Bulletstorm was actually, for whatever reason, getting a full remaster and re-release. Now, I never would have expected that because Bulletstorm is so old. It's such an old game. It's one of those things where it's not like it was a popular franchise. It's not like, oh, they re-released Resident Evil or they re-released, Metal Gear or something like that. Bulletstorm was one game by itself that came out, I think, around the same time as, I think it came out like right before Gears of War 3 came out, because if you bought it on Xbox, you got like a beta key or whatever to play multiplayer or just try the demo early. So it comes out before the third game in the Gears of War franchise. We're on the sixth one, including Judgment, and, or I guess the fifth one, including Judgment, and it's very interesting to see that it's getting a re-release, and they're even adding new content to it. So it's got 4K graphics. They're adding, I think they're adding like new levels to the multiplayer component of the game. They added the Duke Nukem thing where they have John St. John do full voice work for the entire game, where Duke Nukem is the main character instead of whoever the main character was in the original game. I can't remember. It's been a super long time since I played it. But I love that game. I actually really love that game, and that's honestly why I'm doing this video, because the game, I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but it does end on a cliffhanger. And that's obviously why I titled this video the way that I did, because the game is one of those games where it's like, okay, it ends, and if you play games, whether you like the games or not, that there are just some franchises where it's like everyone wants the next one. So we got, like your Half-Life 3, if that'll ever happen, Beyond Good and Evil 2, and for me, Bulletstorm was one of those games. It didn't have like the same success as even Beyond Good or Evil. I don't believe it did, at least. And I played it. It was actually like the first, I guess, normal game, I bought on Steam. It's the first one I ever like really went through. Other than that, I think I had like Valve stuff, so I had like Gary's Mod and things like that. But that was like the first full game that I ever bought on Steam, and I actually played through it, and I love the game. It's actually insanely fun. I like the story to it. The action is phenomenal because it's like point based, so you get more points as you go through, and it's just entertaining. It's like kill people in the most creative way possible and get a bunch of points so that you can do even crazier stuff, throughout the rest of the game. And that's entertaining, and that's kind of what the multiplayer does as well, where you combine that with 3 other people, and you all do all sorts of crazy stuff to the enemies to like try to get the most points you can. And seeing this game get re-released, and Gearbox is taking it on. I can't remember the other company, unfortunately, but we have these 2 companies bringing back this game. And for one, with it having been I think it was People Can Fly, I believe that's who it is. So it was them and Epic initially, and then that's when the whole Gears of War thing was happening. So now it's Gearbox that's taken over, and it just has me really curious. I'm very curious if that means that they want to support this game and make a sequel. They're just like, hey, we know that a lot of people are fans of this, so let's re-release it, way down the line and give it 4K graphics and stuff like that. Because it's honestly, I'm thinking about buying it because I bought it such a long time ago. It's one of those things where it's like, wow, excuse me, I believe it was, yeah, it had to be, it's a 360 game. So 360 PS3 game, I got it for, my PC, and it's a fun game. It's a good game. It's a lengthy game, too. I think I played through it, I think it was about 12 hours or so. It has, it's a decent campaign. It takes a while. But it's fun. Tons of different weapons, all sorts of, different types of characters and stuff. The dialogue is just some of the craziest stuff you've ever heard. Like, they just say some crazy things in this game. But them announcing, like, hey, we're going to re-release it, and, the Duke Nukem thing where they add components to it like that, and they add, new levels and other components. It's like they're not just re-releasing this game and like, hey, it looks better now. They're re-releasing it and adding new content. They paid, like I said, John St. John to literally voice act the entire game and do a totally different character like Steve Bloom did when he initially played the character. And it's like they had him come in to do the entire game's voice work for the main character. That's a big deal. Like, that takes time, to go through a game like that. The length of the game, do grunts and, grunt voice work and stuff like that. So they put a lot into this to re-release this game, and it just makes me wonder, like, maybe these people just really love the game. Maybe they always wanted to do it. People Can Fly, you know, the initial developers of the game. Maybe that's what they've always wanted to do, to like re-release it and get more publicity for it and get more people interested. And I think with the current state of gaming, I think this is actually a genius move. I think where we are with games compared to where we were when that game came out, we have a lot of stuff very akin to it. Like, we have a ton of crazy games. Since that came out, we've had a lot more Grasshopper manufactured games. So which just came out recently, Let It Die for free. So they put out a couple of crazy games. We've gotten a lot of other really insane things. Things have gotten even crazier in more typical franchises, like Call of Duty has just gone to space. So they've gone insane like that. Battlefield has gotten even crazier, even though it's, you know, still World War I stuff. They've done things that are just bigger and more bombastic. And I think this game perfectly fits. And I thought it kind of fit in fairly well. I thought it was actually one of those things where it was like, it's super unique and kind of ahead of its time. And maybe that's why it didn't blend so well. But I think where we are now, with gaming and including Let's Plays especially, I think this is almost the perfect time for this game to get re-released, because a ton of people who may have missed out on this game initially, who are, as far as Let's Players, they'll probably pick it up because some people might be interested, especially once the commercials really start to come out again. If they do, you know, TV spots, because it's a re-release, so it's hard to say how much they'll promote it and stuff like that. It's not like, oh, it's the first time this game's ever come out. But it has been a very long time. I feel like, it's hard to say, but I'm pretty sure that game came out in like maybe 2008. You know, something crazy like that. Like, I bought that game a very long time ago. Like, I went through, I went through all of college and maybe half of my high school years. So that's 7 years, because it took me 5 years to get out of college. So that game's been out for a very long time. It's almost 10 years old at this point. So, you know, it's in a very different state being re-released at this point. And personally, I would love for it to get a ton of attention and for people to pick it up, and it gets a lot of promotion, and they do actually make so much money. They bring back, you know, the writers and stuff like that to make a sequel to this game. But it just has me curious if they already have it in development, if that's just their plan. Maybe, you know, maybe they're already doing it, or maybe it is their plan, like, hey, we want to do this, but we don't necessarily have the money, so let's spend a bit of time to just do, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, compared to making an entire game, these are minor updates. It's still a lot of work, but compared to actually creating the whole game, minor updates. So maybe that's the plan, is to just have, you know, more promotion for it, and hopefully just more money put into the game as far as sales go. But I hope it does get a sequel. I have to make a decision at this point. I'm kind of on the fence, because I do love the game, but technically I still have the original version, and, you know, the 4K graphics thing, and the Duke Nukem thing. I do think that's actually kind of cool, because they, you know, literally had him do all the dialogue. It's actually kind of crazy. So that in itself does kind of make me wonder, because like, that's actually just a crazy cool thing to add to a game. But at the same time, you know, it's a little hard for me to say. I am curious to see how much they're going to charge for it, if they'll do a full $60, because it's, you know, updated to be up to 4K graphics, the Duke Nukem stuff, the other elements that they've added to the game. But yeah, I'll have to wait and see, because like I said, it's been a super long time, and I haven't played that game in years. But like I said, I technically still own it. It's even easier compared to owning it like on 360 or PS3, where it's like, okay, I want to play this, you know, a 5-year-old game, so let me take out my old system and set it up and everything. I just have it on Steam. I can just re-download it and start playing it again. So it's even easier for me and, you know, other people that may have downloaded it compared to 360 and PS3 owners. But either way, I hope this re-release of the game does phenomenally well, because honestly, this is one of those games where I'm just like, it deserved more than what it got, because it is hilarious. The combat is good. I think the story is actually good if you play through the game, but the crux of it is definitely the comedy within the dialogue, and the action itself is so freaking fun. Like, they have, for anyone who may not have played this game, I don't know why you'd be checking it out, but for those of you who may not have played it and you might be checking it out, just some of the stuff they had, like the little whip as like the main weapon, and it just puts people in the slow motion, and you can kick people and they go into slow motion, and then you upgrade the whip, and you can do like a slam attack and everyone goes into slow motion. All sorts of crazy upgrades for the weapons, and all sorts of crazy weapons. Like there's the one weapon, if I remember right, there's one that like drills into people and explodes. I really can't remember a lot of the other ones. Some more typical things like machine guns, but it was just fun. I remember just playing that game and being like, this is just insanely fun to do. Like you test yourself, how creative can I get within this level that I've played a couple of different times? What can I do this time that I didn't do the last 2 or 3 times? And somehow finally manage to get like that little extra bit and get a brand new high score. And it makes you competitive against yourself, which makes it worth replaying. It's fun in general, even if you go through it, without the point system. It wouldn't be as entertaining, but with all the variety of weapons, it can still be fun, even if you aren't going for points and you just want to like kick people in slow motion off of buildings. It's still entertaining to watch because you can just kick them and watch them like float and then just drop, and once it kind of the slow mo effect wears off. But I hope this game gets a sequel. Honestly, for anyone who might be checking this out, who never did end up picking up the game, but you've been hearing a lot of news about it lately, I highly recommend it. I would personally say just go out and buy the new version that's coming out. That way you can get the 4K graphics, you can get the Duke Nukem stuff, and some of whatever the new content is going to be. But I do hope that it's really well done, or well that it's received well. I know the game's well made because all they're doing is updating it. So I already know it's well made. So I can definitely put my little 2 cents in there to tell you guys you should definitely check it out once it's released. I know because it's a re-release, Microsoft's doing their thing where it has to be Windows 10. So if you don't have Windows 10, then I guess you can see if it's still even on Steam. I honestly have no idea if it is. Because like I said, I bought it such a long time ago, so you can probably check that out if you don't have Windows 10. I personally don't, so until I get like an Xbox, I probably won't have it, unfortunately, because I'm still on Windows 8. Because mostly because my laptop screwed up, so when my buddy fixed it for me, I told him Windows 8 because when Windows 10 first came out, it was screwing up a ton of my Steam games, and I was like, I hate this, because I couldn't play a bunch of my Steam games because of how they did it. That may have been fixed by now. Honestly, I have no idea, and I have to look some stuff up, but at this point, I'm kind of waiting until, I do. Plus, I'd have to pay for it anyway at this point. I don't care that much to do it. I'll just wait till eventually I get an Xbox, and then I'll just do it that way. But if you got Windows 10, you're curious about it, I highly recommend it. Definitely look some up. Look up some of the old trailers. Look up some old Let's Plays. I'm sure somebody had to have done a Let's Play on that game because it's really worth watching. Like honestly, that's one of the perfect games for Let's Plays because you can play it and it's amazing to play. It's really fun. And just watching it because people are going to try to get creative. It's one of those things where it's a linear game, but it's going to be so different every time you watch it because people are like, alright, I got to do this, I got to do that. Maybe we use this weapon and get this many points and use this weapon on this person. And it's just that type of thing. It gives that replayability on an individual level and even on like a YouTube level. I'm sure it'll be huge once it re-releases because everybody's going to be like, hey, you can do a million different things in just this section to get this many points. So I know for a fact you're going to see it for sure, but I recommend checking it out. If you're skeptical, like I said, just try to find some old Let's Plays or just look up some old reviews. I personally think it's a really fun game. Good story. It's somewhat pseudo generic type of story, but then it goes to like outer space and you're on like an insane super planet. It gets real crazy. It's like pseudo generic, but then the elements within the story is like none of this I've experienced in real life because I've never been on a spaceship, stuff like that. So I recommend checking it out. Like I said, I hope that enough people get it and they end up making a sequel to this game because I've wanted one for a super long time. But definitely want to know what you guys thought about this announcement. If you guys think that's the plan, they want to drum up more money and try to make a sequel. Do you want a sequel if you played the first game? If you haven't played the first game or it was one of those things where you just never even knew about Bulletstorm, I would love to know what you guys what you guys think about it now after maybe looking up some of the trailers, old trailers and old gameplay for it. I would love to know what your thoughts are on whether or not you might get this re-release because, like I said, I feel like this is one of those things that came out during a time where gaming was very different, and now we have YouTube and Let's Plays and stuff like that, and I just think it's like the perfect time for this type of game to be re-released. So I hope it works, but like I said, I want to know what you guys think about the announcement, the game in general, if you're going to buy the game, or rebuy the game. You know, if you already own it like me, you know what your plans are for that. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.